Hi, I'm Liz Marcello, and I was able to do my practicum at North Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, in coordination with the English language learners newcomer class at the high school. So I was supporting the instructor by providing technology tools and instructional materials. I was particularly focusing on developing a technology platform so that the learners could expand their speaking practice. Why expand speaking practice? It's difficult to provide that speaking practice during class. So, having model videos that students can access outside of class expands their practice opportunities. Also, the technology allowed the instructor to hear each student speaking one by one and assess and give feedback one to one. So that's a great expansion from what is typically a possibility in the class. And then speaking is traditionally a low scoring area for English language learners by the way that language acquisition works. So, again, focusing on bringing out the speaking um, targets a low scoring area. And in second semester, the learners will test part of the test, the benchmark English language learner test is going to require them to uh, use headsets and speak back to the computer. So they are growing in comfort with the technology that they're going to be using during that test. The main technology focus of the project was Flipgrid, and we chose Flipgrid because it was very accessible for the learners and for the instructors. This platform was new to me and to the course instructor, and we really slid in quite easily. One powerful feature of Flipgrid is that the instructor and I were able to share one course. So we have equal power to change the course by making her a co-pilot of the Flipgrid account. Flipgrid allowed us to post practice videos and then allow the students in return to post their own videos. So this was powerful so that the students had to learn only one technology platform where they could both access the model or the example or the practice and then return their own videos that they created. Another great feature of Flipgrid is the multiple ways that you can give feedback. So when a learner's video is playing, you can tally up written feedback. You can create a rubric of limited proportion, but you can create one here. And you can give feedback in a video yourself. So direct kind of almost face-to-face feel of the feedback there is really powerful, especially when working on speaking. To support the speaking activities and technology integration, I identified initial possible vocabulary topics and sentence structures that were appropriate for learners, and I aligned these with the levels that were specified by the WIDA consortium, which is kind of the authority on K through 12 English language learning academics. So this was something that the instructor requested at the beginning of the project and referred to repeatedly. And then by the end of the project, she started adding to it or giving me ideas to add to it. And we're going to continue to collaborate in that way, compiling aligned topics and activities here, plus related resources. We shared a Google Drive where I organize the materials that the instructor would want to access as she took control of different parts of the project and then also for the future. So we had 4 components that rolled out during the practicum, 1A, 1B, 2A, and 2B. And for each component, I created a facilitator's guide, a word list of some sort with a videos either inside the PowerPoint or embedded in Flipgrid, and then supporting materials for the learners' activities. We also worked on assessment plans and went through several iterations before finally landing on the professor's, the instructor's preference for just tracking each learner's progress as the week went along in a spreadsheet. So I made that spreadsheet for her after we had our final exit interview to figure out what would help her continue with the project well. All along, we were working on evaluating and then redesigning. So we have I would design, develop, and implement one segment, and then we would have a meeting to review and adjust the plans and refine before I designed, developed, and implemented the next phase. So for 1A, we had a formative evaluation report, 1B, a formative evaluation report. 2A, we had a review interview together, and I adjusted between 2A and 2B. And then 2B was the final official segment that we did during this practicum. So after that, I had a longer interview with the instructor, really trying to gather what was still needed and what her plans were for moving forward, and then a survey that helps me understand the how the practicum went from her perspective. There were challenges all along the way. Time is always a challenge for both the designer and the instructor. And then adding collaboration into already the lives of already super busy people, it was pretty tough. So we would eke out times for hallway conversations in between classes. We would plan regularly scheduled meeting times and then try to touch base via email as much as possible just to stay up. But there was always more to talk about than could be covered with the time that we had. Scope creep was a problem. Initially, I approached the project with the speaking piece in mind, but as I got farther into the project itself, I discovered there were some more fundamental areas that really needed to be in place before the speaking could be supported well. And so that was difficult. Given the shortness of the practicum, I stayed on track with the speaking focus, but tried to work in some other elements through modeling and discussion to support meaningful learning. And then the full transition to the instructor. So initially I planned that over the course of the 4 components, I would gradually release the whole project to the instructor. The instructor successfully took the Flipgrid management and the implementation of lessons, but was still pretty heavily dependent for design and development. So that was a challenge. And then prompting the learners to use the language meaningfully, it was an area that needed additional work as well. What really worked well was my implementing as a way of marketing. So before I required intense input of time and energy from the instructor, I went ahead and designed and developed and implemented, and then she was working alongside me as I did this, or observing and helping alongside. And so she really got a chance to observe how the technology, the speaking projects would work. And I got a chance to iron out technology snags before requiring her to invest herself. And that really worked out well. We also got to collaborate before she invested herself, which allowed her to own the way that things would go before she invested again. Implementing rapidly, that was extremely valuable. I think we got a more refined product because we implemented and evaluated and then refined and then implemented. So given the short nature of the practicum, that really worked out well. Also, I noticed that having concrete lessons and materials and activities that we experienced together really dredged up needed conversations. Flipgrid was really great to use. So many powerful possibilities with that technology and extremely accessible and free. So that was great to be able to learn that technology. And although we were not as successful with the students learning to use the language as meaningfully as we wanted them to, they were definitely running into authentic vocabulary words. We had pulled lists directly from North Central teachers, school supplies in their classroom, our menus for breakfast and our menus for lunch. So they were running into authentic use as they did the speaking projects. Overall, I would say the project was a real success. The instructor plans to continue integrating Flipgrid speaking projects. I plan to continue developing and transitioning over to the ENL coach, who is now re-entering the newcomer classroom. And the supervisor, our ENL department chair, is excited about the potentials of Flipgrid for use in other classes. So she's invited us to share the platform with our professional learning committee in the future.